highlight three trials which were presented at CROI, and also look at the implications for these three trials, the NADIA trial, VISEND, and also the second line trial, the two SD trials. And these trials were done in Africa. One of the trials, the VISEND, where I was the PI, was co-sponsored by Viatris and also the Global Fund. Currently, WHO guidelines recommend the use of TLD for first line. Then the alternative still is a efavirenz-based regimen of TDF with lamivudine largely. Then there are other options like TAF, which one of the trials did evaluate. Then for second line, we know that those individuals that are failing largely the NNRTI-based regimen, they are switched to the PI, and the PIs which we use, especially in resource-limited settings, are tazanavir and also lopinavir, and we continue still using zidovudine and also lamivudine. We have been introducing in certain areas in the region darunavir with ritonavir. I know a few countries which are implementing this. In the public sector, Zambia initiated this recently. South Africa in the private sector is initiating, but Nigeria is also another country using the darunavir in second line. So the NADIA trial, which was done in 3 countries, in Africa, in East Africa, did look at individuals who were failing TDF-3TC or FTC with NNRTIs, efavirenz or nevirapine. And those individuals had been on treatment for 6 months. They were randomized to receiving DTG or darunavir with ritonavir. Then a further randomization for the NRTIs where 3TC TDF, and also that was compared to 3TC with zidovudine. And the aim was to evaluate the non-inferiority of DTG to darunavir, boosted darunavir, but also to the NRTIs of 3TC TDF to those of 3TC with zidovudine. This is the second line. And the primary outcome was viral suppression, which was defined as viral load less than 400 at week 96. And the week 48 results had showed non-inferiority of DTG to boosted darunavir, but there are 4 cases of DTG resistance. And when you look at the baseline baseline resistance, individuals had almost 50% had resistance to TDF. So the K65 vara was present across all the 4 arms. Then also the resistance to 3TC M184V was highly prevalent across the arms. And then the results, this is the week 96 results, really showed that viral suppression at that time, week 96, was really equivalent between DTG and that darunavir of 89 and also 86. But also the 3TC TDF, which individuals in this trial were failing, but they were recycled, the suppression rate was also about 92%, much better compared to the 3TC zidovudine. Currently, what we are using as the second line for those who are failing TLE or TLN. And again, here at week 96, what was a bit concerning is the emergence of resistance to dolutegravir. There were 7 cases reported of resistance to dolutegravir, but no resistance to darunavir. And the 2 were on the 3TC TDF, then the 5 were on 3TC with zidovudine. These were, the individuals were on DTG. The VISEND trial, this one we continue doing this trial in Zambia. It's a 144-week randomized open label trial where we have recruited 1,201 participants. And these participants are either individuals who were on nevirapine or efavirenz with TDF 3TC, and they were randomized into two arms. In one arm, arm B, are those individuals who were failing that regimen of NNRTI based with TDF and 3TC, and this was similar to the NADIA trial, the arm B component. Then arm A really are just like those individuals who are being transitioned across the region from efavirenz to DTG, but we included TAF as another component, comparing it to TDF. And our outcomes, we're looking at the viral load outcome was a viral load suppression at week 48, and this data is looking at what we saw at week 48. We also, similarly to the NADIA trial, we saw that there was a resistance to tenofovir for those individuals that were failing. This one, B, the K65 vira, and also the M184V were prevalent, but not as high as what was observed in the NADIA trial. But you see again, there's high level resistance to TDF and also 3TC in the individuals that were failing therapy to NNRTIs and also the two NRTIs. The efficacy data at week 48 showed DTG with TAF and also DTG with TDF having high virologic suppression compared to the PIs of 8%, 82%, but zidovudine with lopinavir had the lowest viral suppression of 68%. And you see the similar thing where now when you categorize viral suppression as less than 1,000, with DTG having better outcomes in terms of virologic suppression. We never saw any resistance to DTG at week 48, but we saw resistance to TDF and TAF for those that were failing at week 48, and also a lot of 3TC and also FTC resistance. AZT resistance, there were 4 individuals that had AZT resistance among those that did not suppress. The 2SD study, this is a trial from Kenya in 4 sites within Kenya. And for this one, it was looking at the individuals who were on a PI-based second line with 2 NRTIs, and all these were suppressed. So it's different from the NADIA and the VISEND, where we're looking at for those individuals who are failing therapy. And here, they are being transitioned to DTG with 2 NRTIs, largely TLD, and being compared to those individuals that were not transitioned, were still maintaining the PIs. And the PIs were lopinavir, ritonavir, or atazanavir, ritonavir. And you see here, the suppression rates were similar. In the individuals who were switched to TLD, you have 90.4% viral suppression, then 91.9% for the individuals who were maintained on the PIs. Again, the lessons which we get from these 3 trials are the fact that when using integrase-based second-line treatment, it's just as effective as PI-based treatment in the individuals who are failing NNRTI first line. From the NADIA and the VISEND, we see that the DTG was used in both trials, but the PIs were different, which were used with lopinavir, ritonavir, and atazanavir used in the VISEND trial, whereas darunavir used in the NADIA trial. Then we also learned that if you use the NRTIs, even though they are failing, in this case we use 3TC and TDF, even though they were failing, as long as we added the DTG, or the darunavir, the viral suppression was equivalent. Then the other lesson we learned from the 2SD trial, the second line trial, is that you can safely switch individuals who are doing well on PI-based second line and you move them to TLD or TAF, depending on which regimen you have in country. But we also see that in those individuals who are suppressed on a first line of TLD, of TLE or TLN, you can easily switch them to the TLD or TAF with no implications. Another fact was that the 3TC TDF proved to be superior to 3TC zidovudine, and this was found in the NADIA trial. Then TAF showed non-inferiority to TDF in the VISEND trial. However, concerns with this resistance seen in the NADIA trial for the 7 cases to DTG But also the recent report from Malawi, this is from the routine program Malawi, where again there was emergence of DTG resistance for the individuals that had been on TLD, and these individuals had no viral loads done, and when the viral load was done at the time of routine done at the time of failure, found that there was also resistance to DTG. Again, this is quite concerning. So the treatment implications here, which we can learn, that simplification of second-line regimen is possible in our region. If an individual is failing NRTI-based therapy plus 2 NRTIs, you can simplify them to DTG or darunavir plus maintaining the same failing NRTIs. In this case, the 3TC TAF or 3TC with TDF. Then also availability of darunavir is limited in our setting, so this leaves us with use of DTG as a common option for those that you may be recycling. Then the transitioning from NRTIs to 2 NRTIs plus DTG can be done without viral load testing. However, this has to be with caution with the emerging data we saw from the NADIA, even though from the VISEND we did not see any resistance to DTG, but it's concerning even from the routine data coming from Malawi and also various programs when they analyze their data, it would be good to show how many people may be failing to DTG. And also due to favorable outcomes from the VISEND, there you show that TAF may have an expanded role, maybe in pregnancy, and also those that may have a bone and also kidney disease as well. And having an expanded role for TDF and TAF replacing the AZT use in a second line. Still, we have unanswered questions. How long would the recycled NRTIs hold? We need to intensify monitoring. I think viral load testing has to be done routinely, and possibly having drug resistance testing for those that may be failing the DTG-based therapy, as we have seen from the NADIA and also the Malawi data. But we also do not know if we can extend this data to children where there's been wider use of AZT and also abacavir. In our region, Kenya, Zambia, we've reported wider ABC resistance as well. So we have an unanswered question there. And we don't know what the clinical impact is for those individuals that may have DTG resistance. There is a suggestion of maybe maintaining DTG and just emphasizing on enhanced adherence counseling and see if there may not be any clinical implications. So these are the unanswered questions which you still may need to look at. Thank you so much.